XCR375 H&H Mag here, and it's been a while since I've done a video, so I figured I'd do a video on group members, group leadership, group issues, and kind of go from there. As always, there is a cat in my video right there, as you can see. Anyway, back to what this video was originally about, is group membership, issues that'll come up, leadership, what's expected of a leader, what's expected of group members. I'm going to try to hit all those topics. But to kind of begin with, there's a couple of questions that I am going to propose to you out there. It's from the card game Conflicted. A very good card game. It allows people to get answers from other people when you're a group and so forth. So it's pretty good. I would suggest you get the deck 1 and deck 2. There's also 3, 4, and I think they're coming out with 5 also here soon. Anyway, so I digress. Main purpose of this video is to kind of help people how to decide on setting up a group. First, obviously, you're going to want to have people that are like-minded and so forth and are actually committed to trying to get the group working and so forth, and going to definitely have to have several meetings and meetups and stuff, and hopefully somebody has some property or land or something that can be used as a bug out location or a place to go. That's going to be key, especially if you live inside of a metropolis such as Los Angeles, San Francisco, and so forth, like I do, which, you know, then you're going to have to definitely, if you do live in one of these megapolises, set up supply caches along the way to get to your place. So I've done videos on how to do that and what to use and how to get to your bug out location. I'm not going to go into that here, but definitely having people that are like-minded and who are actually committed to getting things set up and put in place. For example, somebody might have land but needs labor to help get it in shape. Well, you know what? You get into a group of people that are like-minded and you just start picking days or weekends and help out the owner of the land with getting the place in shape. I mean, with projects and so forth and so on. Free labor, you know, I guess I'm kind of simple-minded, where you put in the time and labor, and it helps. You've paid your dues, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at. You pay your dues, and if the property owner needs help with something, you know, maybe a group purchase, maybe he needs to purchase a water tank or something like that. Everybody coughs up some cash and makes a purchase for a water tank or a solar panel or a solar panel kit or something like that. Or, you know, maybe some people in your group don't have the financial resources to do that, but they have their manpower, their labor. You know, everybody contributes in some way or some form. So that's important. Leadership, I think the best way for leadership is one person, because committees don't get anything resolved whatsoever. Period. It becomes a bullshit bureaucracy and nothing gets done. Whereas if the leader makes the final decision, and if the leader has several lieutenants underneath him, one to handle, you know, security, medical, gardening, so forth, water supplies, electrical, mechanical, you know, you not necessarily have to have one individual for one particular topic, but let's say your security guy is good with tactics, but he's also a mechanic. Well, great. He's got, you know, 2 skill sets that he can be in charge of. Let's say your communications guy is good with comms, but he's also excellent with the good old green thumb on keeping things alive and so forth. Put him in charge of comms and your gardening. So, but I think that these lieutenants need to report to one person, kind of like a small business owner. has, a team lead, a supervisor, a manager, and they sift through, the lower management sifts through all the crap. And if there's a big issue that comes up, the leader has the final say in it, such as like the store owner does, small business owner. This way, the owner slash leader can concentrate on the bigger issues, such as, okay, what are the main projects going to be, and so forth, and deal with those. So that's a good way to do it. Now, talking about leadership, I'm going to read a question to you from the card game Conflicted. This is deck number 2. Someone in your group has gear that would be better used in the hands of another member who's more experienced. The owner doesn't want to lend his equipment because modern society has collapsed and his gear is now irreplaceable. Giving his gear to the more qualified person would be a great advantage to your group. As the group's leader, do you force the man to lend his equipment in order to give the entire group, a much needed advantage, or do you respect his right to his own property? That's a tough question. I would go to the person, explain it to him what's going on, the person that has the gear that is needed, such as if it's going to be for a op to go get food and resources and stuff. Lending this man's gear to the more qualified person who's going to go out get food and resources and stuff like that is going to benefit the entire group. And you have to explain it to them that way. You don't just say, go take it, because the man worked for it, put his money into it, and it's literally his. But if you hopefully talk to the person properly and phrase it properly and say, look, Scott over there is going out on an op tonight to get seed and so forth for our crops. He could really use your night vision goggles for this. It's going to benefit you. It's going to benefit anybody. Scott over there is a specialist in this type of stuff. I personally would probably be a little grudgingly, but have to reason it out pretty quick if I was the person that had the night vision goggles and put my time, energy, and effort into it, and but then take into consideration the entire group. Scott over there is going out and he is going to bring back food. So yes, and I would definitely make my point that, hey, I bought these are mine, then I would say, yeah, Scott can go ahead and use it because it's going to benefit the group, but I don't think I would just give them up. And hopefully as a leader, the leader would take that into consideration and respect, what was said. Because at that particular point in time, everything has collapsed. And it's going to be basically you and your group that's going to be making it through this. So, speaking your mind and saying, yeah, you can use them. I'm not too happy about it because they're replaceable. They're not replaceable if they get damaged. But, it's for a good operation to go get grain or seed or whatever. I can understand. As for a leader, the leader would need to really take that into consideration too and make it a point to tell Scott that, hey, yes, go ahead and use so-and-so's night vision goggles for this op, but make sure you bring them back and give them back to this guy because, they're really his. But for a group type of thing, yeah, no problem. And I think as for a leader, it's important not to admonish the other person that has the night vision goggles, for example, and say, well, Scott is better than you because what you've just done is you've pissed off, that person saying, just because you're not as qualified as Scott over there in tactics or whatever, you don't need them. Well, that's not a good way. So, at least in my opinion, which kind of goes back to some instructor courses I've recently taken, and for the NRA, and very good instructor courses. They really teach you how not to piss off your students and stuff. Self-critique, it's one of the techniques. They use another one called TPI. One of their main things is you do not admonish a student if he's having issues. And that kind of has to go with daily life. I mean, you tell someone that has a piece of gear that could actually make or break your op that he's not as good as Scott, that makes the person feel about that big. And everybody has their strengths and weaknesses in a group. So as a leader, it's very important that you keep those type of comments to yourself and just keep it as business, because the moment you say, oh, you're not as good as Scott, that makes it personal. Whereas if you are just explaining to the person, look, he's going out to get seed so we can plant our crops for the entire group, and the mission would be a lot more, would have a higher chance of being a success if Scott could use the use your night vision goggles, as compared to like, well, you're not as good as Scott, and we're going to use your goggles and on this mission and just deal with it. What sounds better to you? What's going to give you more of a cooperation from someone who is being difficult on lending out his equipment? I would say the first one. Scott is leading a mission tonight to go get seed so we can plant our crops for next spring. May he use your night vision goggles, please? If he has the night vision goggles, there is a higher chance of this mission succeeding. Boom. Oh, okay. I'm going to think as that person, oh, wow. Well, it's for the entire group. We're already in SHTF situation. Okay, yeah, okay, fine. I really can't replace these if they get damaged. Just let them know that they're irreplaceable and I don't have another pair. So, whereas the second way is more of a personal attack. So, to me, like a small business owner, you got to deal with multiple personalities and be very diplomatic with everybody. That's not saying at times it's may be necessary to be tough on people, especially if rules have been broken. But hopefully by then you have a very good feeling for your group and who the people are. So let me know what you guys think about how you would handle that question, and I'll read it again. Someone in your group has gear that would be better used in the hands of another member who's more experienced. The owner doesn't want to lend his equipment because modern society has collapsed and his gear is now irreplaceable. Giving his gear to the more qualified person would be a great advantage to your group. As the group's leader, do you force the man to lend his equipment in order to give the entire group a much needed advantage, or do you respect his right to his own property? That's the question. I'd like to know how you would answer that. So, good card game. I recommend definitely decks 1 and 2. Haven't gotten through the 3 and 4 yet, so I'm conflicted. So, anyway, then my other question is getting new group members and so forth. How do you go about doing that? I'd love to hear about that too. How do you end up trusting these people? I mean, pretty much you're trusting these people with your life or the lives of other people. If you got family and kids, now's the time to really feel people out. What do you do if you have people that are non-committal but they see what's going on? How do you deal with that? Do you just write them off? How do you deal with that? So these are questions that I'd like to throw out there. It's really not fair for rest of the group members to set aside time, resources, money, so forth, labor, whatever it might be, however they contribute, and then just have someone who hasn't made that type of a commitment or hasn't participated in stuff, to just show up and say, okay, well, we're here, and they haven't done any work or done anything like that or met anybody. How would you deal with that? That's another good question. Say you got a group of 5 people. All right. 5 of the people have been there. They formed the group. They've committed. They've, committed resources, committed labor, and so forth and so on. Materials, joint buys on stuff. So certain people, they know a guy or a person or a family or something like that, and the family shows up at the group's compound or property. How do you deal with that? Do you take the person and family in, but at the same time say, well, you really don't have much say so because you haven't been here since the beginning, and you are off in the South 40 over there. You're on guard duty over there, and make them earn their keep. Obviously, that's obvious. Make them prove themselves, of course, and what do you do in that situation? The family. One of the members knows the family and stuff, and the family is solid. They're have the same type of mindset, but just priorities might be a little bit different than what everybody else's priorities were. So, how do you deal with that? It's another question. So, I'm going to go back to one of the conflicted questions here. I think it's really good because it probably will happen. And that's why it's very important in a group to find out what everybody's medical issues are and so forth. What medicines they're on, and if they have a stockpile. Sorry, I got to deal with work here real quick. And discuss it. No secrets in a group, period. None. Can be 0 secrets in a group. If somebody is on blood pressure medicine, if somebody's on mood-altering drugs, everybody needs to know, because remember, you're bringing strangers together, and they need to keep an eye on each other and watch each other's back. And for example, if somebody's on blood pressure medicine, people need to know because they have to keep an eye on them. If somebody's on cholesterol medicine, that person may have to eat a little bit more of a stringent diet, healthier diet. So it's important. But anyway, back to my question. I bring this up. After the collapse, a loved one ran out of mood-regulating medication and has lost it. She is frequently putting the group at risk by not obeying the general rules of the group and picking fights with other members. Tensions have built to the point where the rest of the group members want you to take decisive action and handle the situation. What would you do to restore order? That's a very good question. It's a serious question. I'm sure I'll get some answers. Oh, just kick her out of the group. Okay. Well, she's already gone nuts. So you're going to kick her out of the group. She might hook up with another group or a group of marauders and trade her information to the group of marauders for where you're at and what you have on site. Oh, well, this group has 20 people. They got plenty of food and plenty of water. They got livestock, blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, guess what? What do you do? Chain her up inside one of the places. Can't really do that. Kind of barbaric. So that's a good question. Stuff that people need to think about. She's lost it. So do you take her out and dump her off in the middle of the desert? And see what happens there? Worst, how do you handle that? So, love to hear from you on that. Anyway, so like I said, those are pretty much the main things. How do you deal with those 2 questions that I read off? I'll read the last question off again. After the collapse, a loved one ran out of mood-regulating medication and has lost it. She is frequently putting the group at risk by not obeying the general rules of the group and picking fights with other members. Tensions have built to the point where the rest of the group members want you to take decisive action and handle the situation. What would you do to restore order? So, anyway, like I said, those are the main questions of how do you see group leadership? How do you deal with issues? How do you deal with the multiple personalities that you're going to have? Because you're definitely going to have a lot of multiple personalities there. Remember, most of these groups and people are type A personalities. That's why it's important now to get the stuff all set up and get a leadership in place. How are you going to deal with people that you've known for a very long time, or they have the same type of mindset, but just prioritized other things that were more important than this. But they do have some resources and some food and stuff like that. How do you deal with that? So give me your thoughts and answers. I mean, those two questions are pretty good ones. I've got, like I said, 3 more decks to go through, and I can probably find some more questions I could post up there. But let me know. XCR signing off.